in the toilet.
Woo woo.
I do a whole bit about what I have to do at age 69 to get attention.
Well, 69 is a good age to be.
Did you see it pop up on Facebook?
Not yet.
Okay. I might have missed.
Yep, there it is. I got it.
Okay, perfect. So we're live, and Facebook people will come on. You know how people like to troll later on. And Danny Minch is here, you guys. This is so awesome. I love it. Danny, you are a touring comic.
Well, I was.
Yeah.
Until all the tours went away for the next 4 months. I was up for 4 months. Actually, they've all it's been about 3 months now, so they're all almost completely done. So yeah, I was, and we'll see if it happens again. So
You started in New York in your life, or so it says on the internet, to Fresno.
well, there was a few stops in between. Most of my life was in Louisiana, but down south. Then I moved from Louisiana out to California with my wife, who is now my ex-wife. And then we had several children, and then I had several other children. It's just been fun. But yeah, I was born in New York. I never really did comedy in New York. I was just a kid when we moved out of there. Then my dad was in the government, so we moved around constantly. He loved to move. So
What did he do for the government?
he was an assassin. So every time he brought me to work one time. The last thing I remember was a Dallas spot with a grassy knoll. I don't know. No, he worked for the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. He was a meteorologist.
Wow. That's, like that word meteorologist has nothing to do with meteors, does it?
No, that's what I was always very problematic, because when I was going to school, I would tell all the kids that my dad studied meteors, and then he told me what a meteorologist studied, and I was like, they study weather. What is the guy who studies meteors called? A weatherologist? That doesn't make any sense. So yeah, he was a pilot in the war, and then left the Air Force, became a meteorologist, worked for the FAA. Then when Reagan fired all the air traffic controllers, he went and taught all, because he was actually certified to teach air traffic controllers. So he went and pushed everybody through during the 80s when they were all fired. So
it wasn't just a fly-by-night.
Nah. He was a career guy.
So is he still alive?
Oh, no, he's way dead. He died about, I'd say 9 years ago, colon cancer. So yeah.
Well, may he have forever rest in peace, and we can still thank him for his service, even posthumously. It's just not posthumous. So were you military?
No, I was not. I would have loved to have been, but he actually left the military and became a Jehovah's Witness. So I was raised J-Dub, and until I got into some stuff. And then when I started doing comedy, I was no longer a J-Dub. My family still doesn't talk to me. So I am out and about. Yeah, my mom didn't talk to me for the last 10 years of her life. And then my brothers and sisters still don't. So
the Jehovah's Witnesses are really into, if you love someone, let them go, right?
Yeah, they just don't talk to him ever again. But not all witnesses are like that. That my family made their own decision. I'm not vilifying everybody that's in the religion for what a few whack jobs did. So
that's right.
I'm a whack job too. So I mean, they might have other reasons not to talk to me. They just use this as the thing. I wouldn't blame them.
Yeah, my dad was Jewish, and he survived the Holocaust. And when I decided in high school to become a Christian, of course, now I'm a Christian where the Christianity's kind of on the back burner. I'm like, well, I don't know. And so my dad, he pronounced me dead. You know how they Jewish people sit on a stool and call it shivets?
Uh-huh.
He sat shivets for me. He pronounced me dead. But
Oh,
we made
wow.
up before he passed away. We made up. So
Oh, that's good. That's good. That me and my dad made up before he took the big dirt nap too. We didn't talk for a good long time before he passed, but right towards the end we buried the hatchet, and then I
so
buried him.
good.
So it went boom boom, just like that.
Now, when you started into comedy, it was after you had some children and you got divorced.
Three of them.
And
Yeah, I had three children. Got divorced. Decided I wanted to do this to pick up on women. It seemed like I was funny.
it's
Women,
working.
yeah, it worked. Yeah, it did. So my main goal was just pretty much get up on stage, tell some jokes, bed some women, and be done with it. And then the first time I did stand up, I was hooked. I was just like, no, I don't care about the women anymore. I'll do anything to get up on this stage. So a lot of the guys were happy because I was like, I'll give me 5. And they'd be like, yeah, give me, you got to take my 5. And I'd be like, okay. So,
So you had somebody that was in your corner at the improv that got you spots early on. Do you want to talk about the person?
oh yeah. Richard Villa, he's of the Refried Comedy. He came out to Fresno, and it was hilarious because there was a place that was kind of our own little comedy club at the time called Tide Palms. It was the only place that really was doing comedy at the time. A guy named Aaron Stewart ran it, and he came out, and I'll tell you, this place was always packed out. But the night Richard came and I was opening up for him, I was trying to make a big impression on him. There were 6 people in the audience, 6 people. And he was in the back of the bar with another guy, and they were laughing, but they were looking at each other. So I thought they were having a conversation and just laughing at whatever they were talking about because they never faced the stage. So my entire set, I thought he wasn't paying a bit of attention to what I was saying. And then when he came up afterwards, he was like, I am blown away by your comedy. He goes, I got to get you down the improv. And the next week I was down there, and then I started becoming a little bit of a regular down there. I hosted a few shows, but living in Fresno, it's quite the commute from Fresno to Hollywood. So it eventually teetered off. And once I started doing it full time, I was like, well, I can't just do it for, funsies anymore. And the improv paid me a couple of times, but it wasn't worth the gas money to get down there.
No, that's so cool. And then you got to, when I looked up your bio, it said he was the single person to open for Brad Garrett's, and then it said more, and you couldn't click on more. What the heck did you do for Brad Garrett that you were the only one?
Yeah, it was actually it was a terrible set I had. I had a monstrously horrible set, and a lot of it had to do with the semantics of the place. It was a place called Chuck Chansey. They do comedy every couple of weeks when they're open. Up there with a buddy of mine named Andre Covington, who's from this area, and but this was before they had even started doing comedy out there. But Brad Garrett was coming out, and so they called me up and said, hey, we need somebody to do 15 minutes of clean material before this headliner comes on. And I was like, oh, cool. Who am I opening for? And they were like, Brad Garrett. And I was like, oh my God, that's fantastic. Why do I have to be clean? And they were like, oh, he's from Everybody Loves Raymond, is when it was in its zenith. And he was, it's going to be a family show. And I was like, I don't think they've looked up Brad Garrett's stand-up. But then I was about to tell him that he's not a clean comic, but then I heard myself talking myself out of a really good paying gig. And so I just said, yeah, 15 minutes clean, let's do it. And then when we got out there, they hadn't done that many comedy shows, you could tell, but they had no host. And I was like, do you want me to host? And they're like, no, you're opening for them. We're going to have the lady who does the stuff over the mics for the games and stuff introduce you and then introduce. She was the worst. It was just like, For gold members, we have make sure you hold on to your tickets from the show because we're going to be giving away a car at the end. And now here's your opening comedian, Danny Minch. And that was it. And then I got up there and it went well, I guess you could say. It was a roller coaster because they did not want an opening comedian. They just wanted Brad Garrett.
Right.
So and I wasn't on the bill. I wasn't on the flyer. It wasn't like they had anticipated an opener, and Brad didn't need an opener, but he's a super nice guy too. We get out, I get off stage. She never goes back up, and Brad is losing his mind. He's just like, somebody introduce me. Somebody introduce me. And he's a ginormous man. When he gets a little bit angry, everybody pays attention. So she runs back up there, introduces him. He gets up there, starts cussing up a storm, and the crowd just clams up, just completely clams up. Because I guess Chuck Chansey was right. They were expecting a clean show. And he finally stopped and was like, hey, I'm going to keep doing this. So you guys unpuck your buttholes or you're going to have to leave because I'm doing the dirty material. And he finally got him back. It was a fun show, but like 1,500 people there.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did he manage to turn it around when they were tightening up on him?
He just stuck to his guns. But look, he was going to get paid either way. Is Brad Garrett. They flew him in from Vegas. He got off the plane, got to the casino, and left right afterwards. And he knew he was going to get paid either way, whether they laughed once or laughed 1,000 times. So he just stuck to his guns and went into his material. He addressed the elephant in the room, which is what you're supposed to do. That everybody was expecting him to be like the character on Everybody Loves Raymond, but he's Brad Garrett. And this is my comedy, and this is what I'm going to do. And he just destroyed after that. Once he talked about it, it wasn't like a light switch turned on everybody. It was just like everybody slowly started to like loosen up, and then I think a couple of the older people left, but all in all, it was a fun show. And then I got laid
priceless.
Yeah. One of my buddy's sisters came to the show, and I ended up having sex with her. So it worked out perfectly.
Which brings me to a very interesting question I want to ask you. I brought it up. I don't bring it up with everybody I interview, but have you noticed you said you got into comedy to bang the women, and
well, I mean, consensually.
Right. Of course. Like I'm a baby boomer, of course. And so, but the thing is that, have you ever noticed that women go to comedy shows dressed they're going there wanting to get banged?
Well, here's the thing. A lot of times what I've noticed is that the women will dress to be pointed out by the comedian. Maybe not necessarily, because a lot of times they're with their husband or their significant other, but they are the type of people like we are that like attention. They just might lack the social skills that we have where we can get up on stage and make people pay attention to us. So that's their go-to: low-cut dresses, sleeveless stuff, and then bending over on your table. And so I always address it because I know they want to be addressed. If I hate to say this phrase because it sounds terrible out of context, but at a comedy show, if you're dressed that way, you're asking for it.
You are. You really are. You really are. And it's funny to point out the obvious in the room, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my style of comedy. When I first started out, I was very cleanly written. I was a wordplay comic. I was called the Blue Comedian for the longest time because that was one of my major callbacks. Not because I was dirty. I was actually a clean comic when I first started out. And then as it progressed, I started getting, of course, dirtier. But then I started being able to talk with the crowd and engage with them. And now that's something I love to do. I prefer to do my actual set if I had a choice. But my favorite sets are when I get to do all the parts of my set that I wanted to do and still connect with the audience and have a good give and take with them. That's my favorite sets.
So everybody has, you know how the whole world likes to argue about everything because everybody's got different opinions on everything.
Yep.
So when it comes to doing crowd work, do you start off with it or slip into it when you get heckled, or what's your strategy for effective crowd work?
First off, I have a different take on heckling. Hecklers to me, and to each comic, it's a different. I know some comics that don't even like a person to talk, like say a word, and they just lose their mind. And I'm not one of those. I don't consider people that speak up a lot of times being hecklers. I feel like sometimes you say something to somebody that sparks them to say something, that might just be their reaction because they're just like so into what you're saying, they just blurt it out. And it's not like they're trying to take over the show, that kind of stuff. You've got to know the difference. I think a heckler is just being demonstratively negative. That's what a heckler is to me. Now, there are some people that are nice and then start to try to take over the show, and you got to kind of put them in that same heckler box. But most of the time, the people that I'm dealing with, we're just basically having a conversation back and forth. And they usually know, look, I hit a joke, that's the end of the conversation. And then go back into my other stuff. And then what's nice is if it's a good enough thing that I ended on with that comedian, with that audience member, I can actually use that as a callback throughout the show. Wow. So like one guy that was at one of our Valentine's Day shows was sitting by himself. And usually our Valentine's Day shows are all couples. And his wife got sick, but he was like, hey, I bought the VIP package, I'm going. And not only was he the only man sitting by himself in the room, but he was one of only 3 black men in the room. So, and in a predominantly white neighborhood. And so I called him I started really getting into him because there was a single woman sitting there by herself too. And I was trying to like get them to sit at the same table.
Hilarious.
And I was like making matchmaker and that kind of thing. And then I started talking about how he was probably undercover boss and he was actually the mayor of Clovis, the city we were in at the time. And to this day, that guy follows me. And whenever he comes on to like even one of my Zoom shows or anything, he always puts Everett, the mayor of Clovis. So it was something that continued on. It wasn't like, okay, this show's over and I've forgotten about Everett. No, now he's invested in the shows because that one thing made him part of every show that I'm a part of. He's the mayor of Clovis. And it's a lot of fun. And I don't think you start out with crowd work, because if you start out with crowd work, well, unless you're a crowd work comedian, there's a guy named David Rosenberg, and that's all he does. He doesn't have a set. He just messes with the audience. I mean, then you have to. Me personally, I like to do my scripted material until it organically kind of moves into the audience. And if it never does, it's fine. I've got enough material where I don't have to do that. But I only do crowd work if there's a good buy-in and a good organic flow to where it's a good give and take with the audience. That was a long way to go to get to your answer, but there it is.
Oh, no. Please, you'd be surprised how many times I'm asking questions and I just get yes or no, and this is awesome. This is what I'm hoping for. What's the funniest thing you've ever seen happen when you've been at a comedy show?
The funniest thing that I've ever seen happen at a comedy show, I hope, is my set. But a lot of times I will bomb like crazy. Funniest thing I've ever seen at a comedy show. Well, we run a lot of open mics around here, so a lot of times the new guys we had one guy dressed like a clown, which actually he did really well. We had one time I got in a fight with a girl's boyfriend before she went up on the mic, and I found out and I just wiped the floor up with him and then threw him out. He was super drunk, and it turned out he was choking her outside. I didn't know this part of it, but he had been choking her outside. This is not the funny one, but it was an interesting story. And then after that whole thing, she got up and did her 5 minutes, did really well too. She was like, I'm not going to let this asshole keep me from doing what it was her first time up on stage. And Yeah, it was a crazy night. But yeah, I've been attacked a few times on stage. I just funniest thing.
Tell me why do people attack comics on stage, Danny?
Because it's a situation where there's alcohol involved. um and sometimes the one guy that got the closest to the stage, he didn't like me talking to his girlfriend because his girlfriend was super drunk, and she was actually tipping the comedians as they were on stage. Like, they had already paid $20 to come into the show, and now she was like super drunk and putting money in. And so I started like handling her from stage, and she didn't get upset. She was loving it, but her boyfriend, who was ginormous, was not having it. So he got up and started walking towards the stage. What he didn't see was the two tables on each side of him were sick and tired of their entire party. And the two guys, who were huge, just both shifted, like they're about to like both tackle him on each side. And then I just picked up the mic stand when he got real close. And they have that heavy butt on the bottom. And I was like, don't do it. Just don't do it. And then he sat down, and I actually got him to laugh a couple of times after that. Then they kicked him out. So
incredible. So you've been doing comedy around the United States.
Yeah, I've traveled all over the country. I'd love to do it out of country, but I'm a broke ass comedian. So one of these days, I'll make a vacation comedy tour and go to Europe or something and hit some spots I've always wanted to hit. Just a vacay.
What are some of your favorite states to do comedy in, or cities, and why?
Albuquerque, New Mexico, I really liked.
What'd you like about Albuquerque, Danny?
I really liked the venue we were at. It was this weird, quirky, it was called the Red Velvet Rhino Underground or something like that. Had this giant long name. Everything was pink and plush. It looked like you just came out of the 70s, like, and just somebody put a bar in it. And off to the side was a old clothing store. So she sold vintage clothes and then had a bar that was just this obnoxiously fluorescent, beautiful. To me, it was beautiful place to perform. And she had actually provided the clothes for Breaking Bad when they were filming there, because she used to be a wardrobe person in Hollywood, and that's why she did that. But it was a fun spot. Not a lot of people showed up to the show, but the people that did, we all had a great time. We all became like a little bit of family. I really liked Arizona. We did Flagstaff, Arizona. We did a tour. It was called Just the Tips tour, where we took a cameraman with us because we run shows called Just the Tips. And
what is it called?
Just the Tips. As a matter of fact, we got one tonight at 8 o'clock that we're doing on Zoom. So what we did was we would do shows here in Fresno. We ran, at one point, we were having 4 of the Just the Tip shows that were doing really, really well. Went down to 3 before the pandemic hit, and now we're going to see if all of them are going to come back. But what we did is we take a national touring comedian, and we're lucky in Fresno to be in between San Francisco and LA. So when the comics are traveling back and forth, they're looking for an extra day to stop, and we do our shows on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So that would be perfect as they're traveling. Pop in. They would get tips from the audience. We would give them 100% of the tips that they would get, and then we'd run an open mic at the end of it. So they do an abbreviated set. The first part of the show would be about 45 minutes long. A lot of times they bring their own features, and then we put them up. They get a little gas money, some pizza, some beer on us, and then we have our open mic at the end. So we decided to take that concept, the Just the Tips concept, and do like pop-up comedy shows all throughout the country and just work for tips. And so our entire tour was the Just the Tips, and Flagstaff was fantastic. We walked into the town. 3 bars said that they didn't do any live performances, but they kept telling us where to go. And then all those people from the other places showed up to the place that we were doing the comedy at, and we just had a great time. It was fun fun tour. I actually had book shows down in Louisiana, so I knew that was going to pay for the entire tour. And instead of flying to Louisiana and back, I decided to do like 5 stops along the way, and it was a lot of fun. We had a great time.
That's so fun, and that's probably going to start back up as soon as the world opens up, right?
Yeah, and Clovis in our little community has opened back up, but the restaurant is going to give it probably another month before they open up for live performances, and then we'll see from there if they do. And we were doing 4 shows a week at the venue that I was running. We're probably going to start doing 2. Like we were doing Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday, and we're probably going to go to like Tuesday and Saturday or Tuesday and Friday until we build we see how everybody's going to do with wanting to get together. And then we're already I've read the plans for California. The restaurant showed me the distances that we have to do, so it's going to limit the number of people that are going to be in the room, because each table has to be 6 foot apart on either side and back. So that's going to kill a lot of our room. So we'll see. Well, I mean, if I was in this for the money, I would have been out of it a long time ago. I make a living, but I mean,
what's the name of your venue where you have your Just for Tips shows?
It's called the Chico's in Old Towne, Clovis. Yeah, and we do 2 Just the Tip shows, Monday, Tuesday, and then we do Slice of Comedy, which has been going on for like 12 years now at different venues, but it's been here for about 4 years. We do that on Friday and Saturday. That's our booked paid show. We get comics like Henry Phillips and Kostaki Economopoulos and Kabir Singh and Sammy Obeid. Those the heavy hitters on the weekend.
Yeah,
and it's been a lot of fun. Let's see how it goes coming back.
Yes, definitely. Where can people follow you, Danny, online to get you more following?
Facebook is great. Danny Minch 1 on Facebook. I think it's Danny Minch 2 on Twitter. It is if you Google Danny Minch, I'm the first thing that comes up. So on Google, just hit Danny Minch, and then there's DannyMinch.net, which I barely ever use my website. I don't know why I even pay for it, but I have a website out there if you want to contact me through that. But best way is contact me like you did through Facebook. That's I'm 52 years old. I finally learned how to use Facebook, and now they want me to try using TikTok and Twitter and Instagram. I'm just kind of stuck on Facebook. I don't know how to leave.
You do. Yeah, I used to love MySpace, and then when it went to Facebook, I was like, "What are we?" And now every day, these young people come up with something new we have to do. I'm like,
"Yep,
stop."
Yeah, that's the way it is. But I like the Facebook Live like we're doing right now. I got to figure out how you put it over onto live stream from Zoom, because that's pretty cool. I'll
explain it to you when we're off the air.
Or yeah, that'd be cool. And because I do every couple of weeks or so, I went over to vegan lifestyle at the beginning of the year. I was vegetarian before that, and I do some great like
cooking.
Yeah, I make meals that I've learned, because I am still a meat eater at heart. So like I make meatless ribs, it's spaghetti and meatballs. These are all like meat-based for the most part, meat-based meals, but they're made vegan. And they taste, of course, it's been 3 years since I've actually had meat, but to me, it tastes like meat. And some of the meals are just hearty, good meals, but most of them are like a meat-based meal that I just switch stuff out for. It's been a lot of fun. I love cooking. That's my second passion. It goes comedy and then cooking.
Cool. Well, hold on a second, and I'll go shut down Facebook Live, and I'll come back to explain the Zoom to Facebook thing.
Oh, perfect.
Be right back.
Let me go shut mine down too.
Oops. If it shuts us down, I'll message you and tell you the instructions.
That'd be perfect. Actually, you might want to just type them out anyway. I'm more.
I'll do that. Thank you so much, Danny.
Thank you. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, Linda.
I'll get all your information onto the video post. Check it for accuracy because I make mistakes. And then when you like it, share it with your people on Facebook, please, Danny Minch.
Okay. I was already sharing the live screen.
Thank you.
So, yeah, it's
awesome. 10 points. You get 10 extra points for
that. Good.
Yes.
I'm going for the win.
They're pandemic points, but oh well. Bye.
Bye.